Hello everyone, this is going to be a quick overview of the contents of DV988, just recently purchased. Well, you got the main unit, which is a display also, 4-inch display. I got the main wiring harness for a more permanent connection, and red for power, which goes to the main display unit, yellow for audio / hand remote control, and also the hand remote control unit also has the microphone in it, so if you want your videos to have audio, you have to use that piece as well. And the hand remote control actually allows you to secure the videos that was recently recorded for safekeeping. You got the blue GPS unit with the blue connection, which allows the videos to have coordinates at the bottom. You got the different size double-sided 3M adhesive pads and some zip ties. You got the two cameras, front and rear. I didn't see any identification for which one is which, so I'm sure you can use either one for front or back. And you got the included 32 gigabyte SD card, which I believe is class 10, because the recordings came out really nice, very comparable to my Samsung. And this is the manual, Chinese and English. You have the USB power connection for quick temporary connections. I would recommend that you do use that to check the device first, and not to your computer, but to a USB, to a power outlet, to USB connection that you mounted to a wall outlet, and then you plug the USB port to that and then to the device. And that's the bracket for handlebar mounting, and that's pretty much all there is. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Before permanently installing, I test the device by using the cigarette lighter adapter on my motorcycle and a USB adapter. Once everything checked out, then I started the actual installation process, and basically trying to locate the best spots to install the rear camera and the front camera, and the drill bit size. You can go 11/64 for the smallest or 3/16 for the largest drill bit. Either one should work just fine. You can't go any smaller, and you don't have to go any larger than that. And the distance between the center of both holes on the bracket is 1.4 inches, in case if you wanted to have that technical spec to figure out where you can mount it on your bike. The bracket itself is about 2 inches long, and it's a straight bracket. It's a T bracket. I had to bend the bracket a little bit because my mounting point wasn't flat or parallel to the ground, and the camera was pointing up about maybe 20 degrees, so I bent it appropriately just to accommodate that slant. The next step would be is after you figure out where to mount the cameras, you have to figure out a routing for your cables, for your cords. This is pretty much where I decided to mount the front camera initially, but later on I found that it was sticking out a little bit too much and catching a little bit too much light, and the videos were coming up slightly saturated and bright, so I moved it about an inch and a quarter later on. Yeah, just be mindful of it. It's better to put the camera underneath something where it creates enough shade. The colors and the videos come out much nicer. At least that was the case. But just showing you some installation process. The red cable is basically for always on power. White one is for ACC, which is ignition on power, and the black one is ground. The cigarette lighter adapters on motorcycles typically provide you the ignition on power and the ground, but not the always on power. In my case, I had to actually tap into the fuse box using a tap adapter, and then that provided me the always on power. You have to connect all 3 cables, otherwise the device won't function properly. And don't recommend you go directly to the battery, but if that's your only option, then yeah, make sure you use like an inline fuse or a relay of some kind, so that you won't short out the vehicle altogether. And just make sure your wiring is not stressed in any way. It doesn't get in the way of any moving parts, or it's not touching any hot surfaces. And the cables are actually connected by those 2 arrows pointing each other, so that would be really easy to align them for proper connection. And when you're also detaching the cords, the cables, make sure you hold it from the connectors, connection heads, and then pull them apart. They're a bit tight, so make sure you do not pull the cables themselves. Always actually grab them by the head, the actual connectors, the color coded connectors, to make it easier. The cables can strip if you actually pull them from the cable, and that's because it's a weak spot. And that's pretty much where I decided to actually mount the GPS unit at the end instead of coming from the back. I wanted to make sure it has a direct connection, and this is pretty much where I am separating the instrument cluster on the Stelvio. Showing you the mounting and the wiring, wire routing. There's like a little opening under the rear cigarette lighter adapter, which made it easy to feed the cable through. And then I just basically used the existing empty spots or openings, and their existing wiring harnesses made it easier, so I could actually use zip ties to piggyback onto the existing wiring harness. So that way it would be, it would be safe and secure. It wouldn't get in the way of anything. So make sure you zip tie the cable, all the cables wherever applicable, so they won't sag down or get in the way of anything or get tangled up. But don't make them super tight where if the cable actually needs to move back and forth because of any need or movement of the bike itself or handlebars, especially with the main unit mounted on the handlebar, zip ties should have enough space, enough slack to accommodate any kind of tug on the cables. And there's a little slideshow of certain installation points. Again, from bike to bike, installation will vary greatly, so just try to figure out the best way to install it on your bike. Hopefully this video will give you some ideas about how you can go about doing the installation on your bike. Again, the locations of fuse boxes and other openings or mounting points will be quite different from bike to bike. If you have a Stelvio, this should probably serve as a template, but if you have a completely different bike, at least it will give you an idea about how to go about doing this properly. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Overall, I was very impressed with DV988, and if you're thinking about getting this system as well, you can use the code that I put in the notes section to get your 20% off. It's a great unit, it's a great insurance to have on your motorcycle, and I would totally recommend it. Thank you for watching.